my fellows? I just want to kind of go over what I think is going on in the storyline. Mainly just because people are saying that there isn't a Balaam ending, among other things. Now, I haven't got all of the story lore bits and stuff unlocked, so I will go ahead and say that. But there is a Balaam ending. The only ending that there isn't is the Arquebus ending. Okay? From what we've seen. So, here's the gist of what I've gathered on my playthroughs. I'm just a normal, casual dude playing the game. I did go out of my way to look at some of it, but I didn't go hard depth into it. But as far as I can tell, I've gotten the gist of it. So the coral, the technology advanced, everybody was going crazy, super powerful. All right. It started multiplying. The scientists didn't know what to do. They didn't know what it was going to do. They expected it to be a catastrophic event. The coral's getting unstable. So Project Ibis was put into place to stop coral outbreaks. And basically, that's what started the original fires. Okay? During this period, there was a kid, which I'm not 100% sure who the kid is, but it does say that the kid is fairly intelligent. He is the kid of one of the scientists. There's also an assistant that's very good at tinkering there, and some other person. Okay? Something happens where the people that survived the fires, like Carla, basically was put in charge of watching the planet to make sure it never arose again. And her and Walter, or whatever, were basically out there doing whatever they do for a while, probably over those 50 years. Okay? Now, Walter and Michigan seem to know each other for the most part. Michigan's famous for being a hero during the Jupiter Wars. My assumption, which I can't 100% clarify, is probably that Walter, Michigan, and Carla at some point were around during the Jupiter Wars, or, have run into each other throughout the universe before coming to the planet. After Coral is registered on the planet, everyone starts rushing back to try and claim it. Carla had already been there for a few years. She had shown up to the planet beforehand to set up her own little thing, operation, kind of watch over the planet herself. And then she starts RAD on top of that, which is just a side business. But her and Walter don't necessarily play by the rule. Like they're doing kind of something they think is right, but their understanding of coral is more based on what the scientists had said in the past, where it was just going to be a terrible event that would happen, and they probably were super scared of it. But both of them take actions in the games that are kind of shady. Walter does missions and stuff for just throwing lives away, doing these missions and stuff for money, and then Carla's around selling drugs and things at RAD and tinkering with technology and stuff. But their overall goal is just to make sure that there isn't another outbreak of coral, because the potential of the coral is just too risky for humanity, basically. Then you have the liberation of Rubicon. So Rusty and the leader of the Rubiconian Liberation Forces, they have a connection with the Snyder Group that's inside of Arquebus. And that, with a combination of other things, helps sneak Rusty in to the Arquebus group. So Rusty is working in Arquebus as a Rubiconian Liberation Front person, and also sets up ambushes to try and sabotage their plans. Helps you, you know, free Rubicon and stuff from the corporations, as well as stop Senator Carla and Walter. Now, as far as we can tell from that ending, the coral is just being mined and used for food and stuff again on Rubicon, because the Rubiconians use the coral to feed mealworms and things like that. It seems like for food supplies and a bunch of other stuff. But it would seem that the coral would still have the same issues it did before, where it was multiplying. So I would think there would still be something that happens after all of that, but maybe there isn't. Maybe they have some way to stop it. I don't know. Um, but as far as we can tell, the singularity doesn't really happen with that ending. But Balaam, during those times, Arquebus and all the other corporations, and Balaam and Walter are coming for the coral. During that period of time, Arquebus gets a leg up after the PCA gets kind of felt a pretty heavy blow, and they start taking their technology. Arquebus is the only corporation that can basically reverse engineer the PCA technology, which is super advanced. Now, Balaam is more old school military, kind of gets put on the back end and ends up joining with the Rubicon Liberation Front, basically. So the Balaam ending is the Rubicon Liberation ending, because they're teamed up during that time period. The reason that you have to try and kill them when you're going through the other endings is because Balaam is actually starting to turn the tide of the war after they had been put on their back feet. Basically, Balaam was on its last legs and they were kind of stuck, but they were holding a position that just couldn't be taken by the PCA and the Arquebus groups. And so they had to send you in to flush them out and get rid of them. But Arquebus, storyline wise, is the only one that doesn't really have an ending, and that's only because Snail and them will just use you as a pawn and get rid of you. You're not actually part of their team for the most part. You're just a dispendable tool, so that kind of sucks. I wish they had an Arquebus ending. But basically, if you like Balaam, if you like the Rubiconians, or if you like Rusty or something, then the Liberation of Rubicon is the best bet there. And the Rubiconians and stuff don't really seem to have the best lenience with the coral, with the spirits and stuff. So I don't know how exactly they'll utilize it or what happens to the coral in that ending for the most part. They'll probably mine it and start reproducing their civilization again. Now, the third ending with Allmind. Allmind is the leader of the PCA. You can find lore snippets from across the game where mechs basically talk about how the PCA is led by an AI. So Allmind is basically... Now, what the PCA does in the game lore, I'm not exactly sure. Planetary Closure Administration. I don't know exactly what they do, but it seems that Allmind's purpose is basically it's upgrading, improving everything about mechs and their designs. It's taking it to the next stages. Advanced technology, laser weaponry, all of that good stuff that is basically way more advanced than bullets. And it seems that they are after humanity's potential. And humanity's potential has to do with the release of coral. So, Allmind... basically is trying to get humanity to the next stages, and I think All Mind's trying to kind of micromanage the coral, release it and sort of keep it under control to where it can advance humanity. Whereas Ari, the spirit in your head or whatever, wants the possibility of coral to be in the future. Like, she wants the ability for coral to have its own sort of way through and not have to be destroyed. She doesn't really seem to complain with the Rubicon ending, so I don't know if she's fine with that. But basically, when you get rid of All Mind, it opens up the potential for coral to do kind of what it wants, in a sense. So you don't know if every single person or spirit that's inside of the coral is good or bad. You don't know how many good or bad spirits there are inside of the coral. The one in your head appears to be good. She could be playing with you, who knows? But now they converge, they rapidly expand, and they spread across the universe. So now coral's going to be everywhere, and they're inside of all the machines and stuff that have been destroyed over the ages. They can be everywhere. Any spirit can be inside any of these machines. So it could be the future of humanity, but it could also be the destruction of humanity, which is partially why the original scientists had an issue with it, I think. They were very concerned about the potential spread of coral because the potential is just way too strong. In All Mind's way, I think it was trying to let it spread, but trying to control it in a way to where the coral couldn't get out of hand, in some sense. All Mind was probably one of the only things that could have controlled the coral when it comes to these machines. Also, All Mind's trying to make a bunch of machines that don't require pilots. She's trying to make the machine, or All Mind's trying to make the machines an extension of one's body. She's trying to make it feel like an actual body. So when these spirits go into the machine, it isn't them piloting a machine. It would be them inside a robotic form, just like All Mind is. Essentially, All Mind's trying to push humanity into robotic bodies. And then you and basically stop All Mind. And then you release the coral, and it allows the coral to instead get inside of machines with human pilots, and then they can help each other. Sort of along those lines. Like, the machinery is still able to hold human pilots. Something along those lines. What happened to the kid, I don't really know. There's any number of assumptions that you could make with the kid from the stuff. I don't have enough lore bits on it. Potentially, the kid could have been sent to Jupiter as well, for the Jupiter Wars. You don't know if it's an augmented person. You don't know if it's Walter when he's younger. You know, maybe the kid was Walter, who knows. I don't know how old Walter is. And then Carla would probably at least be like 60, 70 or something along those lines. But I think that's pretty interesting, just the overall story, lore perspective of things. And that's the best gist that I have for the game. So tell me what you think. If you have any extra information, you feel free to send me a message. I'm more than interested to learn anything else that's in the story. I've been looking at mechs and parts and stuff lately, just trying to read up on things and see what connects where. But y'all guys have a good